Welcome, everybody, to this edition of QB Power Hour. Today is going to be all about QuickBooks Enterprise. We're going to do a deep dive and we're going to do a recap of the last 5 years worth of new features because they're actually worth mentioning from a 5 year standpoint because the last 5 years of QuickBooks Enterprise has been really, really, really exciting and it's been a huge game changer to our industry. So today is October 22nd. My name is Hector Garcia, and Michelle Long is not going to be with us today. She's actually traveling. So we're going to do very fast introductions. So about QB Power Hour, if you're joining us for the first time ever, welcome. We usually do it every other week. Right now, we have one this week. We had one last week, and we have another one next week. So we've been sort of back to back. Today is going to be all about QuickBooks Enterprise. Next week is going to be about managing accounts payable, and then 2 weeks later it's going to be about managing multiple companies, intercompany transactions, and consolidating financial statements. Usually we are about 50% QuickBooks Desktop and about 50% QuickBooks Online. Today is obviously going to be 100% QuickBooks Desktop, and every once in a while we have a special guest, a third-party app practice management solution having to do with the industry or something for the industry. So that happens every once in a while. So the CPE process we'll talk about in a second. We'll talk about announcements and updates. Today is going to be broken into four sections. The first 15 minutes we'll talk about the core features of QuickBooks Enterprise and why people choose QuickBooks Enterprise over Pro, Premier, or Accountant. Then we're going to start explaining the mid market. So, the target client for QuickBooks Enterprise is very different. And we're going to have a surprise guest, which nobody should know about because it's really a surprise. And I'm not sure if they'll make it yet. I'm not sure if he'll make it yet. So we'll hope that he'll make it. And then I'm going to walk you through. After that, I'm going to walk you through some of the features in product, and then in the very last 10 minutes, I'll talk about the Intuit Authorized Reseller Program, which is for anyone that is recommending QuickBooks Enterprise because the commissions are very handsome and it's actually worth it. If you are going to talk about QuickBooks Enterprise, I think it's very worth it that you are making some with the recommendation. Okay, so that's going to be today's learning objective. So Michelle Long is not going to be here with us today. She's the number one QuickBooks trainer in America. Hector Garcia, myself, I aspire to be the number one QuickBooks trainer in America, and that's enough about us. And uh, we're not sponsored by Intuit, although every once in a while we'll have an Intuit employee talking about it. But this is all Michelle Long and I. The CPE process. If you need CPE, you must attend for at least 50 minutes. You must attend live, although all these get recorded and posted into YouTube. You have to watch the live one. You have to answer the CPE password you're going to get during the end of the webinar, which we're going to give it at some point in the middle of the webinar. You have to get that right, and your CPE certificates will be emailed to you within about 3 weeks. Upcoming events. So we'll talk about the two biggest upcoming events coming in the season. QuickBooks Connect, which Michelle and I have been talking about the whole year, so I won't say anything about that. Um, but let's talk about SleeterCon. SleeterCon is one that is really exciting because at this point there's a week left to QuickBooks Connect, so I don't think I can sway anybody into going into QuickBooks Connect if you haven't made plans for it. But if you still make plans for Las Vegas, do it. We're gonna have a live QB Power Hour there. We're gonna do what we've never done before, which is present to a live crowd of a couple hundred people plus do a webinar at the same time. So that's gonna be interesting. Hopefully, more fun than interesting. All right. Okay. So let's dive right in. And one thing I'll tell you is I have a feeling that we're gonna run long. I just QuickBooks Enterprise is one of these topics that just I'm incredibly passionate for. It is the one thing that catapulted my practice the last three years or whenever it is that I joined the reseller program because it really transformed how I function as a business. So I'm very, very passionate about QuickBooks Enterprise. And if you have to leave on top of the hour, I'm okay with that. But it is possible that with all the questions, with the in-product demo, that we are in fact going to go long. I don't mind going long, so it's up to you. All right, so let's talk about the core features that QuickBooks Enterprise has in the context of comparing it with QuickBooks Pro or Premier. Number one, QuickBooks Pro has a maximum of 3 users. QuickBooks Premier, maximum of 5 users. QuickBooks Enterprise can go all the way up to 30 users. So that's big differentiator, obviously, mostly because you're going to deal with a bigger company size. The other really important thing is structurally, QuickBooks Enterprise is built a little bit different. So there's other things you can do in multi-user mode. You can adjust inventory, you can edit and delete list items, you can change sales tax rates, you can define custom fields, you can set closing dates, you can make deposits with multiple users making deposits at the same time, and you can change any list order. All these things doing here, you're seeing here, you cannot do on multi-user mode, QuickBooks Pro or Premier. The other piece is faster performance. QuickBooks Enterprise was designed in a multi-user environment. Obviously, you got up to 30 licenses, so it has to be optimized for that. And it was also optimized for remote desktop. Basically means that if you have a Windows server, there's a service in there called terminal services or remote desktop services. So you can build your own cloud per se on a Windows server and use QuickBooks Enterprise multiple users and have people log in remotely to it. And also it's designed for larger databases. So any QuickBooks database that is 300 megabytes or more, it's going to be sluggish, it's going to be slow, and it's probably going to get corrupted. QuickBooks Enterprise is designed to work with these larger databases. And also, have you noticed that when you try to convert from QuickBooks Pro Premier to online, if it has more than 350 targets, 350,000 targets, it doesn't let you convert? Well, that's kind of the same performance point that we use for enterprise too. If you got more than 350 targets, I recommend you need to move to enterprise. Now, one of the important things about it is handling more than 14,000 names on the list. QuickBooks Pro and Premier is limited to the database can only handle 14,500. That's how it's built. And when you reach to that limit, then QuickBooks Enterprise is a natural movement up if you need to keep that information and not have to delete it. And then finally, on this slide, the ability to work with two QuickBooks files at the same time, which is also available in Accountant Edition. But from an end user perspective, that is also very, very good to know. All right. I did post the slides on the press on this. All these slides are posted. Go into the chat section. I pasted the Google Drive link. So stop asking me for the slides in the question section. Go into the chat section, click there, and you should be able to see them. All right. Next, list of core advantages of QuickBooks Enterprise, and I think this is the one that adds real big flavor into how we function. And as me as a consultant, think of the possibilities of custom reporting. With QuickBooks Pro and Premier, you are limited to 5 and 7 custom fields on the name and the item side. With QuickBooks Enterprise, we go all the way to 15 for items and 12 for names. So we have more custom field options. And then on top of that, within the custom fields, we can restrict the data type that gets entered. Because one of the issues with custom fields, it's garbage in, garbage out. Like I had a client that was trying to they sell tires, and they were trying to log the brand name of the car that they were selling it to for reports and marketing. And then some salespeople would put BMW with spaces, some without, some will write B.M.W, some will write Beamer. So the problem is that if we don't have consistent data entry, we're not going to be able to pull the reports that we want. So the nice thing about the restricting the type is that you can create drop-down menus, custom drop-down menus that forces the user to have to choose one of those. And therefore, as a consultant, I can design the entire workflow based on the type of information that they enter in there. So that's a really important piece about that. I would say the other major core function that it has is that it has about 115, I believe is a number of different permission structures. So you can actually do granular level permission to allow or disallow users to do certain areas of QuickBooks. And this is natural because when we're working in a multi-user environment, 10 users, 30 users, you're likely not going to have 30 admin level high trust accountants, right? You may have a salesperson, you may have a warehouse person, and you want to really, really define and restrict what they can do. Now, I can't tell you anything about what's coming in the future about advantages, but it's going to get even better pretty soon. That's as much as I'll say, and I hope the Intuit legal team doesn't get all over me, but it's great right now, and it's going to get even better in the next few releases, because this granular structure, even with 100 plus different permission areas, access levels, they're going to have probably double on a specific area. So that's much as I'll say about that. But that's an important piece. The other really important piece about it is combining reports from multiple companies or consolidations. It is also very, very common that in this mid-market, which are the target clients for enterprise, that you're managing multiple businesses. You're managing the real estate business, you're managing the operations, you're managing the service part, the inventory part. Some companies structure themselves with multiple companies. Therefore, there's going to be a need, if I have multiple QuickBooks files, to consolidate. And this world of consolidating financial statements, it's humongous all by itself. Enterprise can do it. There's third-party apps that can do beyond what it can do. In about 3 weeks, on the November 12th episode, we're going to talk about this specific topic, consolidating multiple company financial statements. That requires an episode entirely by itself. But it's important to know that with QuickBooks Enterprise, it can be done. Now, the other core advantages are that there's a new exciting advanced reporting module. It's really exciting because what it can do, but it's kind of frustrating because there's like 6 people in the entire country that know how to use it. I don't know how to use it myself, so I can't talk about advanced reporting until I feel comfortable enough with it, where I can find the Intuit person that will do another presentation on that. We had a real brief sort of introduction to that about a year ago, but probably about 9 months ago in one of our episodes. But when I feel comfortable presenting advanced reporting, I will go ahead and do that. Options to add on advanced pricing and advanced reporting. The last slides, we're going to talk about those. And if we have time, we'll do a little bit of that, but also doing some research. Advanced pricing and advanced inventory. I apologize because I screwed up. Oops, that's the CPE keyword, but let me just hide it for a second. I apologize because that was advanced inventory. Sorry about that. So optional add-ons to advanced pricing, advanced inventory, advanced reporting is included with all subscription models. And you can also connect your SQL database, your Microsoft database, even Excel, and pull the data using something called ODBC compliant. And if I talk about ODBC compliance, I'll put half of the people to sleep. So basically, there's a driver that can take QuickBooks data and transfer it to other databases. So QuickBooks Enterprise significantly changed how they market their product and how they sell it. Now QuickBooks Enterprise is 100% subscription model. So with the subscription model, you can't just buy the software. You're going to pay an annual fee for it. And I want to talk about the pricing, because it is difficult to disconnect the pricing from the product, right? Because the pricing segregates and segments the market. And it's not every small business can do this. But let's talk about for ProAdvisors, you're going to have a version of enterprise for yourself or one user. So if most of you are ProAdvisors, I think here, and that's $549 per year. Now for the users, there's going to be 3 flavors. We're going to see the silver subscription, which is going to be the core enterprise product that we're going to talk about, or we're talking about now, and the advanced reporting new module that was introduced last year. There's the gold subscription, which is basically the silver plus the enhanced payroll. That's all built in and rolled into the price. And then the platinum, which is going to have the QuickBooks Enterprise core, the enhanced payroll, the advanced inventory, and the advanced pricing. And now this is still 100% desktop software. This is not cloud-based software. This is desktop software that you install in a computer. The only thing that changes is that you're paying for it annually. So think of it as a lease, basically. Okay, so why subscription, right? Because everybody gets mad about, oh, now I have to pay more. Why subscription? Intuit understands that QuickBooks Enterprise does not really have any competitors at the price range. They absolutely do not have at the price range. No solution out there, or at least I'm not exposed to it, and I apologize if I have to call on my own ignorance later, but no product under $10,000 can do what QuickBooks Enterprise does at the learning curve. That is the most important piece. QuickBooks Enterprise is just QuickBooks. For the QuickBooks user, they don't have to learn anything new. It's just a more robust infrastructure. So that's extremely important. Also, with the subscription that you pay annual, you have unlimited US-based tech support. And I'm going to give you a very strong tip, and I'm going to give away the store with this because this has been a unique marketing position of mine. I'm going to give you a tip about how I use US-based tech support for QuickBooks Enterprise to my favor. Free product upgrade, so that means every year, whatever the new version comes out, they're going to have access to QuickBooks Enterprise training videos, which I'm going to show you now. I'm not going to go through the videos, but I'm going to Google QuickBooks everything. What is it? Everything Enterprise. So everything Enterprise. You Google everything Enterprise. You click on that link, and then you go up here where it says training, and then you log in. User ID here to show you, and you have access to real world training package that they sell for $3.99, and they have all this video. This is the same thing that when people Google mastering QuickBooks Enterprise that they pay $3.99 for. That's all included, and all QuickBooks Enterprise clients have access to this. So I think it's important to know that, because most people that I know had no clue about that. It's a complete surprise for people, and it's there and it's free. And also with the service plan, you're going to have the online backup service and data recovery service in case your database gets corrupted. Now let's talk about the specific prices. And just to give you an idea, so if you have a 5-user QuickBooks Enterprise Platinum client, so this is a client that is going to have 5 simultaneous users, and they're going to have advanced inventory. The retail price for that is $3,400 per year. And then Intuit gives you a payment plan per month, so you can actually pay $284 per month. Now, the prices you're seeing here, or the discount, there's a discount of 40% for the first year that expires at the end of the month, and those discounts always vary. And also, we as resellers, we have access to special subscriptions that the public doesn't have access to, which is the bronze subscription and the accountant edition of QuickBooks Enterprise, which I can't go into too much detail with because I'm actually not allowed. But if you contact me directly and you have a client, I can help you get access to other products that are not available to the public. So that's kind of how subscription works, and there's always going to be a discount out there. Now, when you're a QuickBooks ProAdvisor, you can give your client a 20% discount of QuickBooks Enterprise subscription. And what I've done with that is that I bundle Right Networks, which is $55 per user, and QuickBooks Enterprise as one monthly fee when I present it to my client. So for example, if my client says, Hector, I want QuickBooks Enterprise on the cloud, or Hector, I want QuickBooks Enterprise Online. They do that crazy thing where they take 2 words and put them together and somehow it means something. So I want QuickBooks Enterprise Online. So what we do is we take the core product and we offer the 20% discount, and then we add the $55 per user, and we give the client one price. And we say, look, you can go out there, purchase a server, set it up, and purchase Enterprise. Here's the price. Or you can just outsource this whole thing, put it on a cloud, and here's the flat price. If you want access to this, email me and I'll show you that. I'll give you that price list. I have it published on my website. This price list is not anywhere. This is my own internal price list in which I Frankenstein the Right Networks and the monthly QuickBooks Enterprise services. All right. Okay. I think I'm going to have to go faster because I may be a little bit behind because I have a lot of content to talk about. Okay. So let's talk about QuickBooks Enterprise accountant tools. So what Intuit has done in the past, I would say over the past 3 or 4 years or so, is that they've taken a couple of the accountant tools, so that what's traditionally on QuickBooks Accountant Edition, and inserted into the customer edition of QuickBooks Enterprise. For example, in 2013, the batch enter transactions feature that was in QuickBooks Accountant was added to Enterprise. In 2014, the upgrade to batch enter, where they added invoices and bills, was also added to Enterprise. In 2015, specifically on release 6, all the accountant tools, client data review, statement writer, reclassified transactions, fixed asset manager. Actually, fixed asset manager was there before, was kind of hidden, and statement writer too. But the client data review, which is the reclassified tool, my favorite one, that was added. And then now with 2016, the batch void deleted transactions was added as well. So from this point forward, if whatever you can see on QuickBooks Accountant yourself, you are 100% sure that that QuickBooks Enterprise will do. So QuickBooks Enterprise will have every single accountant tool in it from this moment forward. Now, going back to 2012, okay, what are the features that they added that are, in my opinion, awesome, that make QuickBooks Enterprise better than the Pro Premier counterparts? Find and select items. That is where you can actually search within a description of a product, um, or a description of an item when you're selling it. The automatic price markup, it lets you configure margin and markup as a fixed percentage that QuickBooks will update automatically as the cost changes. Enhanced inventory receiving, which separates the receiving process from the accounts payable process. Therefore, an item receipt stays as a separate document or a separate transaction than the bill. And that is big sometimes because we don't want the warehouse people to be receiving bills. We want them to do item receipts, and we want the accounting to do the bills, and we want to have a different date, transaction date, for receiving the bill versus receiving the inventory. Then serial and lot number tracking and FIFO inventory costing, that was added in 2012 with the Enterprise add-on. QuickBooks Enterprise 2013. So in QuickBooks Enterprise 2013, they added the automatic PO feature, which is the ability to create a purchase order automatically. So this this is a really important piece, right? Okay, because when you have a minimum amount of inventory you're supposed to have and a maximum amount of inventory that you want to have, you really want to speed up the process in which I'm going to turn off my webcam. I think my webcam is causing some of the audio delays there. So we want to be able to take whatever my inventory levels are at the moment, and we want to take the desired minimums and the desired maximums and use that as a tool to create a new purchase order. Default classes was introduced in 2013. Basically, you can have QuickBooks automatically put a class based on a specific customer, vendor, employee, item, or bin. Now it does location tracking, which means inside of multiple locations, we can do bin tracking. So basically, we can have a warehouse location, and then we can have a sub location. It's like a sub location inside of a warehouse. And then barcode scanning was introduced in 2013. Now, so location and bin tracking, multiple location bin tracking, and barcode scanning, it's part of the advanced inventory add-on. The features that were added in 2012 and 2013 that I wanna specifically talk about. Are the ones that I'm going to do now. So let me maximize the screen, collapse the column, and let's start with a sales order. So I'm going to go ahead and click on sales order. And one of the challenges that we have with big item lists is that when we hit the drop down here, right? So if a client is trying to select an item and they hit the drop down, they have to go all the way up and all the way down to find something. And in a typical QuickBooks Enterprise scenario, clients have 1,000 inventory items, 2,000 inventory items. It's a very typical thing. So sometimes, for example, let's say I'm looking for this product. Let me look for a specific product. I'm looking for this product called Light Pine, but I don't know it's called Light Pine. I know it's a wall unit. Okay. So if I'm actually sitting here and type wall, it doesn't show up. I type unit, it doesn't show up. That's the problem we have with QuickBooks Pro and Premier. However, with this feature is amazing. You click right there where it says Find and Select, and after I click on Find and Select, I can search anything within the item or within the description or even within the custom field, which is actually pretty awesome. So, for example, if I was to look for something with the word wall unit, if I just search wall unit and click on search, it actually narrows down every single item that has that within the description. And then I click on add selected items and it adds it right there and then. Now, I do have a little bit tiny solution for non-QuickBooks Enterprise users. And so if you're using Pro and Premier and you're looking for something similar to this is the trick. Ready? When you're inside the sales order and you click on an empty line, and let me just delete this to here, and because I'm about to give up another really big trick that people love. So if you're not in QuickBooks Enterprise, you can do this. You can hit the blank area and you can hit Control L in the keyboard, L like love, right? Control L on the keyboard, and that basically opens up the item list. And then here where it says look for, then I can search wall unit and hit search, and there's my narrow down. And here's the key. If I click on the item that I want to insert or use in my form, I hit Control U, like, I don't know, I can't think of a word, this umbrella, Control U. So I hit Control U and basically inserts the item inside of the sales order. So this is like the poor man's QuickBooks Enterprise version of the Find and Select in this type of environment. Okay. All right. So that's what I wanted to sort of show you briefly, because that's actually a pretty interesting trick. The other important, so that's the find and select feature. The other important piece is custom fields, so which I spoke about earlier. So one of the real non-intuitive things about QuickBooks is it's where I have to go for custom fields. But anyway, so I'm going to go to list, and then I'm going to click on item list. Whoops. List, item list, and I'm going to go into one of my inventory parts, and then I'm going to start grouping my inventory parts based on the type of material. So it has nothing to do with the item name or the sub name. It's actually another attribute that I want to edit. So I double click on any of the parts, and then I can click here where it says custom fields. And when I click on custom fields, I can see we had this one called color. Let's say this one's called material. So I can actually click on define fields. And then here where it says material, I can create a drop down. So I'm going to show you. So I'm going to create a drop down here and click on edit multiple choice list. And then I'm going to create multiple material options. So I'm going to put here wood, metal, and then let's say cotton. That makes no sense, but that's okay. And then so I'm going to have wood, metal, and cotton as 3 drop-down choices. Hit OK, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit OK, and then hit OK. And then when I'm working on an invoice or a sales order or whatever it is, so let me go into an invoice here. And then I'll do my trick here, Control L, and then Control U. And then what I can do is I can enable within my form, I can enable that custom field and see how that drop down works. So I'm going to go here down here into column, and then I'm going to enable material and then hit OK. And then what happens is as I'm working on these forms and entering data, the user is restricted to having to pick one of these. And why is this important? Because I can run a report that shows me products that are only metal or only wood or whatever. Or even better, when I'm doing a find and select, let me show you. When I'm doing a find and select, I can say, look, I'm going to search within a custom field and put here wood. And what that would do is it would only show me my items that are within that wood category. So all of a sudden, we've discovered this thing that has been missing in QuickBooks Enterprise forever, which is general product categories, which we can achieve with custom fields, drop downs, and the find and select items. The other piece that I was talking about is about markup and margin. So let's say this particular product is, I'm going to start with $10. Okay, this particular product is $10. And then I'm going to click here where it says edit markup. And what this basically means is if the product is $10 and I want to sell it for 20, right? If I want to sell it for 20 and I put here sales price 20, QuickBooks will calculate my markup, which basically I'm doubling the original cost, and my margin, which is the amount of profit from my sales price. But it's not just cool because you can see it there. You can actually program QuickBooks to update the cost based on a new purchase. So basically, what does this mean? This means that if tomorrow I purchase this for $12, QuickBooks will automatically mark it up 100% or a margin of 50% and suggest you to sell it at a higher price. That is a huge new feature that they added back in 2012, and I think it's sort of underrated. I want to quickly talk about the reseller program. Okay, so we have tons of more stuff that we're going to cover, but I want to quickly talk about the reseller program because if you are offering QuickBooks Enterprise, and again, this webinar is going to run long, so that's okay. You should know about this and you should join it because you can make money. Okay, so let me see if my guest speaker from Intuit is here, who's Steve Hall, and I think he is. Let me unmute him. Hey, Steve, are you here? Okay, we'll see. I think he muted himself. So, Steve, whenever you have a chance to unmute yourself, just tell me that you did it. You're muted. Maybe now, Steve.
Yeah, can you hear me now, Hector?
Okay, so I just want to have you for questions, really, because I'm part of the reseller program and I know my benefits, but I don't really think about them. So just want you to correct me if I'm wrong in any of these. Okay. So the Authorized Reseller Program, if you enroll through Intuit, you get 20% commission on enterprise sales and any add-ons for users. Is that correct, Steve? 20% is the number.
That is correct.
Okay. If you sell a QBO account, which you can sell at 35% discount for your client forever, you get a $100 bounty. for every activation. The caveat is it must be Essentials and it must be Plus. It doesn't work for Simple Start still, correct?
That is correct.
That's correct. On MSRP, Pro Premier, POS, you get 30% of MSRP. That it's already sort of available through the ProAdvisor program, so maybe that's not the real exciting piece about it. But the residuals on payments are very exciting. So every time you activate a client's payments account, and in QuickBooks Enterprise, you're guaranteed to see big numbers, you get 30% of everything that Intuit charges in terms of fees to the client. Okay, so some clients are paying $1,000 a month in merchant fees because they're doing a lot of volume. That means $300 for you. I mean, that I would say that's the biggest incentive to become an authorized reseller. The other couple of things are if you sell more than $30,000, and that's the sort of the minimum. You can become a premier reseller, which has higher commissions of enterprise, has revenue sharing on annual renewals, which is actually really good because you're not selling just software, you sell the renewal. You have full service payroll residuals. You get a bounty for Right Networks hosting. You get a little bit more discount of Pro Premier and POS. The residuals go up to 40%, and there's quarterly rebates. Plus, you get listed in the Intuit Reseller website. Steve, did I miss anything crucial?
No, I think you covered everything except for the fact that they also get to work with someone great like myself.
That is true. That is true. Here's a quick chart, which you're gonna get an email with our email. You're gonna get access to this of the comparison between the two programs. This is what the Intuit Reseller website looks like, and I want to put Intuit's contact information in the. Steve's contact information. Steve is the channel sales manager for the Authorized Reseller Program. Anything that has to do with reselling QuickBooks, you contact him, and he'll get you set up. In some cases, he may recommend you to work with me because if you need help with enterprise specifically and you need consulting help with enterprise, you may want to partner up with me in some cases. But for the most part, this is for you. This is for you to resell the software. So, and there's no cost to go in, and there are no minimums. There's still no minimums. So, Steve, a couple things. If if you're the average QuickBooks consultant that sells or recommends 2-3 premier accounts a year, maybe an occasionally enterprise and a QuickBooks Online enterprise, how can this really help them? Because it's not a really big profit maker if you're only selling a few. How can this help somebody that's really small that really is not focused on reselling?
Well, one of the things that you do have is you always have the best possible pricing. And even if you're a ProAdvisor and you're getting discounts, when QuickBooks offers promotions, we actually lower the reseller price even a little bit deeper to provide a little bit of a margin. So there is a way that you can either offer your clients the best price or mark it up a little bit for margin. I think bigger than that, though, is the opportunity that Hector mentioned earlier. Is with every one of your clients, you have the opportunity to sign them up to process credit cards and checks through QuickBooks. And also payroll, our full service and assisted payroll plans, and receive residuals on a monthly basis for those two items.
Right. I think that's the biggest one, right? Because even if you're a ProAdvisor, you can get access to Pro Premier discounting, but you really can't get the payment. We're recommending payments, right? We are absolutely recommending payments, but we're not getting paid. So do you have any comments about an actual CPA getting commission for sales? Because there are some CPAs that want to give a client a really good access to a price, but don't really want to get paid. So if I'm a reseller and I don't want to get paid, can I still give clients sell it at the cost? I guess, is that possible?
Oh, absolutely. You're going to be buying the product from us at cost, and you can turn around and sell it for whatever price you want to. And I will say that a majority of the CPAs that I work with, when we're talking Pro Premier, they're passing on their discount directly to the customer, to the client.
Right. So it is possible to just pay with the client's credit card. We don't make any commission, and just pass the discount down to them. I mean, then again, you're just adding value by doing that. Steve, any challenges or anything interesting about competing with Amazon or dealing with the subscription pricing that you want to add before I jump back into the product?
Just real quickly on the Amazon pricing, there are times that they're going to be, running some promotions. We are always able to match their price for your clients. So if you do become a reseller, absolutely, we can provide that same pricing. And just one more quick note before I go to, if you do sign up as an authorized reseller, I mean, I'd be happy to work with you to get you going. If you would like to work with Hector but have a goal of maybe becoming a premier reseller down the road, we can set you up and track your dollars so that everything that you sell through Hector actually gets credited towards you, towards the sales goal of, maybe eventually moving up to the premier level. And I've actually moved a couple of Hector's up to secondary locations up to premier status.
Yeah, we graduate. I call them graduating them. Okay, and then a quick difference between the affiliate program and the reselling program.
With the affiliate program, you're basically just putting a link up and you're selling our products and you're getting a small margin on that. The reseller program, with that program, you are able to get residuals and better commissions than you're going to get through the affiliate program. I think the biggest one, again, is going to be through the payments accounts, credit card processing, payroll, and the residuals that you can earn. And we have some resellers that are literally getting 5 figures monthly in residuals from merchant accounts.
Thank you, Steve, for coming in. I'm going to go ahead and mute you and go back to QuickBooks Enterprise. Look, I'm talking to 500 professionals here. I'm not selling you anything. I want to make sure that if you are going to work with enterprise, you're not just dabbling on enterprise. Okay, I think that's one of the major mistakes that some of my colleagues do, where they, oh yeah, I know enterprise, I'm comfortable with it. No. If you're going to work with enterprise, I need you to deep dive in enterprise, know all the features, know the pricing, sell it so you have some skin in the game. And if you have questions about it, just email me, hector@garciacpa.com. Email me, and maybe I'll find you the answer. Enterprise is an area that I'm very passionate about. All right, so back to the product. And we are going to go along probably 10, 15 minutes, the max, because I do want to cover everything. I don't want to cut this short. I know I did have some guest speakers, but I do want to cover everything. So back into the features. So automatic PO, that I want to cover. That is really important. So let me show you what this means. So in any of my inventory products, so let's say, for example, that wood door exterior, I can tell it what my minimum is. This is what I desire. This is at what point that I go under that minimum, I need to order more. And the maximum is when I go replenish, how many do I need to get to that maximum? So for example, let's say that my minimum for this product is 25. That means that right now, because I have 20, my trigger is going to trigger me to order, and my maximum in this case is 40. Okay, so again, I have 20 right now, my minimum is 25, my maximum is 40. This item is called the exterior wood door. So we're going to see exactly how this works. So there's a report here only on QuickBooks Enterprise, reports, inventory, stock, reports, inventory, stock status by item, inventory stock status by item, and it's sort of the features hidden inside this report. So when I click on inventory stock status by item, I get this report here, which we're very familiar with. This is available in all versions of QuickBooks, but in Enterprise, we got this button here called Auto Create POs on the top right. If you can see my mouse, Auto Create POs. And when I click on Auto Create POs, what you're going to see is at any point in time, you see a little checkbox there. You can see the checkbox next to those items. At any point in time that the quantity on hand goes below minimum, it's going to suggest you to get to maximum. Okay, so in the case of that exterior wood door, when I click on Auto Create POs, it's actually going to say, look, it looks like you have 25 of these, sorry, you have 20 of these, you should have 25, and I'm actually suggesting you that you get 20 so we can reach that 40 mark of auto. So this feature is actually pretty awesome. Not pretty awesome, really awesome. And based on the preferred vendor, so you're going to have preferred vendors set up per item. Based on that preferred vendor, the PO will be created for each of those vendors. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and select checkbox for both of these. And you see that there's 2 vendors. When I click on Create PO, QuickBooks is actually going to create 2 POs, show me the report where they did them, so I can actually double click on each of them and see it. So if I need to make a change, maybe the price changed, maybe the description, I want to change it slightly, the date, the PO number, whatever, I can do that. So that's what that function does. It automatically creates the POs for you to get you to your maximums. Okay, so that is automatically create POs. And let me see from 2012, did I miss anything crucial? I want to make sure before I move forward. Enhanced inventory receiving. That's gonna go. We're gonna have an advanced inventory, QuickBooks Enterprise Advanced Inventory webinar, and we're gonna kind of leave that for that. Location tracking, barcode scanning, the same thing. Okay. 2014, they introduced sales reps and custom fields on vendor transactions. Another area that a lot of people that dabble into enterprise or dabble in enterprise don't know about. And I want to make sure that you do know about it because it's actually really, really powerful. So when I create a bill, I'll tell you now, is when I create a bill, in QuickBooks Enterprise, the bill looks exactly like it does in Pro and Premier. There's no difference. However, if you actually, let me just create a bill here. If you actually right click, right? If you right click anywhere in the body of the expenses or the items, actually it has to be the items. So let me change to items. If I right click anywhere here, I can click on where it says customize columns. Okay, it's kind of a hidden feature. Customize columns, and then I can add some of my custom fields inside my bills, including sales rep, including color, including material. Color and material were the two custom fields that were set up in there. So when I do this, now I have sales rep info in my bills. Now, this is kind of a big deal because when I create the bill and I choose whatever item is it that I'm going to use, so I'm going to use design for this example, and I'm going to go ahead and put a cost of $1,500, and onto this item, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that it has a sales rep. So there is my sales rep here, and there we go. I'm selecting Hector, and then for color, I'll put here white, and then here I'll put wood. Okay, not 100% focused on the custom fields like color and material. I'm more focused on the sales rep side because I want to show you is something really, really neat having to do with having sales rep inside of a bill. So I'm going to hit save and close here, and then I'm going to do a check as well because having custom fields in bills and checks are both great features about QuickBooks Enterprise. So I'm going to hit customize columns as well and enable my sales rep and my custom fields. And for this particular example, I'm going to pay some other vendor. And let's say this one is also going to be, let's say, this design item. And the first one was $1,500, so we'll make this one, let's say, $1,200. And we're also going to assign this one to a rep. Again, we're focused on the concept of assigning reps to expenses. Whether it's a bill, a check, or a credit card charge. Credit card charge would have the same exact situation here. So let me have an invoice here in which I will pick that same sales rep because then I want to take a look at the profit on the job, and which will be really based on the sales rep's profit. But focus on the fact that I can assign a rep to a particular job. So let's sell this one for, let's say, $3,000. And the most important part is I have to make sure there is a rep assigned. There we go. So now that we have both the income and the cost components, when I pull up a profit and loss, but specifically profit and loss detail, because a profit and loss standard with the columns by rep doesn't work yet with this function, but profit and loss detail works great. So I go to profit and loss detail, and that's obviously going to show me every single profit and loss for all my customers and all my reps, right? But when I click on customize report, and then I'm going to go to filters, and then I'm going to go look for rep in here. And there it is. And then I'm going to narrow down to the specific rep, right? The rep that I used both for the income and the expense side. And I hit OK. You're actually going to see the income and the expense side. So that comes in really, really handy where we can actually see profitability by rep. Now, also on QuickBooks Enterprise 14, they added 2 reports to the contractor edition that are extremely important. So those reports are in jobs, time, and mileage. And the first one is job work in progress, jobs, time, and mileage, job WIP summary or job work in process summary. But before I talk about that one, I want to compare it with the option that we had before. So the option before this job working process summary that was introduced in 2014, the closest thing to that we had was the job estimates versus actual summary. And let me show you the mechanics of that first before we kind of get to enjoy the greatness of the work in progress summary. So let me do job estimates versus actual summary. And the amount of information that we had before was, in this case, estimated cost, actual cost, the difference, which we could actually enable a percent. And that was actually a possibility before 2014. So then we can have estimated cost, actual cost, difference in dollars, difference in percent, estimated revenue, actual revenue, difference in dollars, difference in percent. But basically, the only information we had access to was this is what we think the job was going to cost us when we did the estimate in the very beginning. This is what it's actually cost us so far. Okay, so with this, basically, that means that we're over. So by looking at that difference, we see that we're over, in this case, 3.6%. Now, let's look at a job that is not over. Let's look at like this one right here, the Cruz Albert remodel. So we had a job that was supposed to be 200,000. Now it's 129. And basically what it tells me is that there's 35% left of the job. So 35% left of the job. But you have to, in your mind, say, well, what's 100% minus 35%? That's 65%. So in theory, if I am supposed to invoice X amount of this job, based on the working process, the only revenue I've actually have earned is 65% of the job. Now the problem is that this report doesn't have access to that, but the working process does. So when I go to reports, jobs, time and mileage, and click on job work in progress summary, I'm going to go to that job, Cruz Albert, and it says here that 65% that I mentioned earlier. So that's 65.96. It's actually what you have earned so far. So here on the earned revenue side, it actually multiplies that 65% times the amount of money that you're supposed to make on that job. In this particular example, the estimated cost and the estimated revenue is showing the same, but I can change it real quick so we can see it and make it just a little bit more obvious. So I'm gonna go to the original estimate here and I'm gonna modify, so I'll modify this one. I'll just make it much bigger. And so this one, I'll make that one much bigger too. That way, I'll cut a 0 here. That way I'm gonna save and close. That way my original estimated revenues are also much higher. And you can see that because we are 65% to completion, what we have in theory, what we have earned, it's 65% of the original estimated amount, which is actually 246,000. And that actually compares it with what we actually have invoiced, which is 200,000. So it's important to differentiate that these two reports do provide a different piece of information, where the job estimate versus actual summary, even with the percentages, it only represents the number in terms of what is remaining on the job, and it only shows you actual revenue. It doesn't show you the revenue that you actually have earned based on the true work in progress accounting methods. Okay, that was a mouthful. Now, the other report that's really important that they added in QuickBooks Enterprise 14 for the contractors, it's here under jobs, time and mileage, and this one is called committed cost by job. So again, reports, jobs, time and mileage, committed cost by job. And this one, a little bit harder to explain, but it is a new concept. So before I go deep into it, what usually goes in a job costing report are actually paid expenses. So actually paid expenses, or accrued in this case. So actually paid and actually accrued expenses, which come from bills, credit cards, and checks. Now, there are two types of expenses that are actually not accrued and not expense as of yet, but they're happening sort of as we go, which are the committed costs. Committed costs are information that is extracted from one, unpaid wages. So what you see here, for example, that 54,179, those are timesheets that are in QuickBooks that have job costing information that have not been turned into payroll. So traditionally, and you actually cannot double click on this, it's one of the tricky parts, so I can't really see it from there, but those are timesheets that have job costing information in which we have not created a payroll. So traditionally, there was no way to get unpaid payroll to show up in any report, but you can show it up in here. Now, this 15,000 here you see under committed costs, these come from purchase orders. So I'm going to double click on that one so you can see. So like the timesheets that have job costing information, if you have a purchase order with job costing information and that purchase order has not yet been turned into a bill, and that portion that hasn't been closed yet, so that portion that's pending, it is assumed that you're going to pay for that at some point in the future. Therefore, that is the equivalent of a committed cost. So we see the 5,000 here and the 10,000 here. Both of these are showing in the committed cost report, but the 3,000 is not, because that already has been either manually closed or invoiced in a previous bill. So let me close that again so we can see, and I'll close that detail report. So on this particular job, there's $15,000 of committed cost. So let me show you. I'm going to actually double click on that PO, and I'm going to mark it as closed. Right, so I'm going to mark it as closed. That way, these items are not open anymore, and I'm going to hit save and close, and that should actually take them away completely from the committed cost report. So I'm going to go ahead and hit refresh when the report comes back up, and you can see they're no longer on the committed cost by job report. So as long as you don't have any open POs that have job costing information, you will not have anything there under committed costs. And as long as you have no timesheets with job costing information, you will have nothing there under unpaid wages. Now, this information still does not affect your financial statements, but it does affect this specific report. Then we have the new assembly features for manufacturers. We have automatically build assemblies with sub-assemblies. This is an issue with QuickBooks Premier, where you can have one assembly where one of the components is an assembly, and then QuickBooks Premier would not let you assemble the top level product before the sub-assembly is being built. So what QuickBooks Enterprise did is, if you have enough inventory to assemble everything that's under the assembly, so an assembly within an assembly, it would actually do it in a single click without having for you to stop what you're doing to assemble the other one. The other interesting one is this one called where used, and I'm going to show you that one. That one I can show you with an example. Again, I have no clue why that construction report wasn't showing up. So I'm going to switch to a manufacturing company here so I can do that. Now, I may be trying to cover way too much material in too short of a time. I think I should shot myself on the foot on this one. Let me see. Let me go into the manufacturing company. So I'm gonna switch this back into manufacturer's edition. So we're gonna go to wholesale and manufacturing. And somebody's saying that go to Memorize Center because they're hidden. It's not just you. So it looks like somebody else is having a glitch with QuickBooks Enterprise not showing those reports. Maybe the next release will have it. I memorize reports, wholesale, manufacturing, contractor. Maybe are they there? No, they're not there either. So somebody was trying to tell me if by any chance they happen to be there. Not sure how that was going to work. But so let me open up a manufacturing company so I can show you an awesome feature called Where Used. Is this one here called Where Used. And that one's actually pretty neat because what happens is, let's say, for example, I'm going to go back to my client that we manufacture the fish product. Let's say that one of the components, let's say it was, carbon 5% something, got replaced with a carbon 5.7% something. And is a new inventory item, and it's very annoying to go search product by product to find which one used to have the old product and which is going to have the new product, and replace it one by one. So the where is used feature, and let me hit OK here. I'm going to show you exactly how this works, and shouldn't have any glitches with that. I don't know why that working process report. I'm still sort of like perplexed and dumbfounded by the fact I couldn't find that working process report. So I don't know what's going on. Sorry about that. I'm so embarrassed. So embarrassing. Thank you, Intuit, for doing this to me. Anyway, so I'm going to go in the item list, and then I'm going to take a look at one of my inventory assemblies. And then let me go down here to inventory assembly. So I got a couple of inventory assemblies here, and then I'm going to go edit one of these, and then part of my BOM, bill of materials, I have some inventory parts, like for example, this one called pumps BURB, whatever this is called. So let's say like this product is being replaced with a different product. So what happens is I go and identify my product. So let me search here, pump. I'll search here, pump. And we probably should have an episode just on manufacturing. I'm positive that we should have one just on that. But for now, let's just do a couple of things here. So I right click here, and then I click on where used. Okay, so I'm going to right click and click where used, and I'll click on that, and it will list every single inventory assembly that uses this part. And then if I select them all and say, you know what, this product, the P version got replaced by the H version, whatever that is. Whoops, let me go back to that. So I want to replace all these. I'm going to replace the P version with the H version. Okay, so let me put here H version. And I click on replace. It actually goes to every single inventory assembly. Every single inventory assembly that had the P version and replaces it with the H version. So now when I go back, and by the way, if any of you deal with manufacturers, you know how big this is, because this is kind of annoying to have to go double click on each one and figuring out which one has it and replace it manually. But now I can go into the bill of materials, and I can see that the P version now is an H version, as you can see, and that's how the product got replaced. So that's sort of a quick a quick view of how enterprise works a little bit better for manufacturers. All right, so the minimum and maximum reorder points that I already explained, they were added in 2014, so that's an important one to just kind of disclaim there. And then we have advanced pricing, which was added in 2014, which I think requires an entire episode by itself, because that tool is actually could be really powerful when you use it in multiple use cases. That was introduced in 2014. Now let's move to 2015, probably the most exciting release in a very long time. This is last year's release because this is the first time that we have the ability to prevent the QuickBooks user from selling negative inventory. Negative inventory is like QuickBooks' worst nightmare and consultants' worst nightmare. And when a client has inventory versus a client that does not have inventory, it is absolutely a whole another type of client. Like the engagement changes completely. The breadth of the work, the amount of work, the mental capacity and state you need to be on to deal with inventory issues is a whole nother ballgame. So moving my clients to QuickBooks Enterprise and disallowing the negative quantity has really changed how I consult work with them. It does make them slower because they can't sell it if they don't have it, but it forces them to go through the process of actually receiving the right product. Okay, sorry about the rant on that. Okay, and then with that, we have an accompanying negative item listing report. I think I could pull that. I may embarrass myself. As you can tell, by the way, I don't like rehearse or prep for webinars. Right? Everything I do sort of on the fly, so I don't know why that. I'm still hung up on that on that report that didn't show up. Uh, anyway, there is a negative inventory listing report that basically shows you all the products that have negative quantity on hand. Yeah, that's big. I don't know why we didn't have that before. That's big because that allows me to troubleshoot and concentrate on those before I work on any of the other ones. And when I double click on it, it takes me to my inventory evaluation detail that gives me the entire history about how the product has gone up and down. And then we can pinpoint, like for example, we see here where it went from 0 to negative, we can pinpoint around the time where the issue may have happened. So it allows you to sort of go back to the documents and figure out with receiving reports. And I'm telling you, one of the most common reasons why people have negative inventory is because not just because they don't receive it, it's because they received the wrong one. Because there's like 1 digit difference between two products, and some of these clients have like 2,000 products, and there's an X or a R or a P at the end, and they can't tell the difference, and they just change it by one. I would say that's probably one of the most common. So in the negative inventory quantity report, you may want to look for products with similar names to see if they're off exactly by the same amount as your negative. The shortage reports, that's actually really cool. So let me show you how this works. So back into this whole manufacturing thing, let me do an assembly, and let me not a new assembly item. Let me do the actual assembly. So where is my build assembly? Okay, and then let me pick one of my assembly products here. So I'll pick this one right here, and then down here on the bottom it says that based on everything that I have in stock, my maximum that I can build is 7.25 units. Okay, because this is taking every single inventory part and checking their quantities and how many of them are required to assemble this product. So if I wanted to build more than that, so let's say I wanted to build, let's say 10 for whatever reason, in my mind I want to build 10. What happens is it gives you two choices. You can make it pending. That way you can sort of have it printed and just kind of work with it. And then once you fix it, you can actually not make it pending again, complete it. Or you can click on show shortage. I love this. When you click on show shortage report, it shows you a report that tells you every single item that is going to run short of that assembly, and how many you would have to build in order to be able to assemble that. And to make matters even better, we can click on auto create PO and directly create the special order PO that we need to assemble those products that I'm going to be short on, trying to assemble 10. Okay. All right, so that wasn't bad. Report filter enhancements. It's pretty. This is a tiny thing. Whoops, I don't know why this thing is not switching. This is a tiny thing right here. Let me do an inventory valuation report. So when I go to inventory stock status, I think I have the ability to show the full assemblies in this case, which will actually calculate the items with the assemblies. We can hide the zero quantity. We can switch it to use available. And that actually was, some of these were added before. And then some of the report filters, we can also hide. Not sure if it's this one. Let me see if it's this one. Um, right here, zero quantity. So I can actually hide zero quantity on hand as part of the filters. That way I'm just not looking at inventory that we don't have any on, and that way that we're focused on that. So with really big item lists, it is kind of crucial that sometimes we hide those. Okay, I don't know how much longer I can go. Let me see how many people we have on. We still have 375 people, so that means we can still keep going. That means we keep going. I should take a vote. Should I stop or should I keep going? Put that in the questions. Should I wait for another webinar or should I go 10 more minutes? Put a comment in the question. Just tell me, should I wrap it up now or go 10 more minutes? Okay, all right, good. All right, good, 10 minutes. Okay, it looks, people are telling me go, but no more than 10 minutes. Okay, transaction improvements, subtotal on item quantities and custom fields that you can sort. That is really, really, that is really, really powerful. You can also sort columns. You can print the footer, which is the total only on the last page. And then we have alternative gray lines, which are useful. For the most part, they're useful when you have very long invoices, like they're 10 pages long, and you're seeing a lot of things there. So let me go back into QuickBooks Enterprise. I'll close that. And by the way, so what you're seeing now, this is uh, the version in Right Networks, that hidden link that was crashed earlier. This works just fine. Look, it works just fine. So I'm not embarrassed anymore. So good with that. On that construction report, I don't know what the heck just happened. I don't know why I couldn't show that report. You can tell I'm still hung up on it, right? All right, so let me go into the invoice. And a couple of things that they added in 15, Enterprise 15, was the ability to sort all these items. So if I want to sort it by rate, I can just click on rate and I'll hit yes there, and it'll resort it for me. If I want to click on SO number, so the sales order that was connected to this, I can sort it. If I want to go by item, I can sort it. Okay, so I find that to be really, really powerful. One of the quick tips I tell you about that is I've had clients that sort and then they want to undo, and you can't undo. So one of the things I do is I create a custom field here under other, and I'm going to call it, this one I'm going to call it number. So I'm basically just going to put like a hashtag number sign there. I'm going to enable it, and it's going to make sense. It's going to make sense soon, trust me. And then I'm going to put here 1. So I'm going to change the order to 1. And then basically I'm going to have a column that says number. And then what I have my clients do is when they put the invoice together, put their 1, 2, 3. That way, this is sort of the original. This is the original order of how they put the product together. So if they go out and they sort by rate, by amount, by quantity, if they're just messing with it, they could always go back and sort this in order. So that's really what I like about it. It's sort of a you can hide it from customers, but you can use it internally to organize your original order and then sort things. Okay, because sometimes you want to sort just to look at the big one and then sort it back. And there's no undo for it. So this is like sort of a quick technique about that. The other really cool thing that they added is the groups. I'm going to show you. I'm going to create a new subtotal group, and here on the subtotal group, I'm going to call it subtotal weight. And this is going to take a while to set up, but this is going to make a little bit of sense, I think, at some point. So I'm going to call this subtotal weight. Actually, I'm going to have to, I'll click OK, and then I'm going to go back to the item list real quick because I have to show you the real application of this. It's kind of complicated, but I have to go into a custom field, and then I'm going to create a new custom field called weight, or it looks like this one has a whole bunch. So I'm just going to pick one of these. Let me unrequire these, and I'm going to pick one of these at random. I'm going to call this weight. Okay, so I'm picking weight, and then this has to be it has to be numbers, and we're going to put here LBS, right? So I'm just kind of letting the user know that this is a place where they can put the weight of a product. Okay, so I have to set up as a custom field first for this to make sense, and then I'm going to do the customized data layout and go ahead and enable that in there. And I know I'm going, some people are saying, Hector, you're going fast. I'm sorry, there's just a lot of stuff to cover. It's going to be fast. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. I don't mean to be the speed Nazi here. Okay, so now that I added weight in there, so let's say, for example, this is 300 pounds, and this is 20 pounds, and this is 100 pounds, okay, whatever it is. So let me go back into my weight. I had a weight subtotal. I'm just kind of showing you a real application of the subtotal, where I'm only going to total my quantity, and then I'm going to total my weight, okay? And then multiply weight times quantity. I don't need the quantity, just the weight. So what I'm telling this subtotal is that I want to take my weight times my quantity and add it all up so I know exactly how much all this stuff weighs. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK and close that. And then let me delete this line here, delete the line. And then I'm going to go right under the product and go subtotal weight. And then what happens is something really cool happens is my weight gets completely subtotal there. And that's just for display purposes. But what can I do with that is I can take a freight charge, right? That maybe we charge, let's say $6 a pound, or let's say 60 cents a pound. And then here under rate, that's going to be, let's say, in this case, the quantity is going to be 60 cents, right? And then under where it says quantity, it says here invoice. On the quantity, I just copy the $3,200 in there. And then basically I have a subtotal of all my weight. And then that's multiplied times whatever rate it is. And then I can charge my freight. That's something that QuickBooks just was never able to do. And this is a real application of the subtotaling of custom fields, which is only available in QuickBooks Enterprise. Man, I can't believe I only have 4 minutes left. Cost available in sales forms. So in QuickBooks Enterprise, we can now enable, so let me turn this on. I'm going to go to custom data layout, and then I'm going to go to columns. I can now enable my internal cost. Okay, so now if I want to see exactly how much money I'm making on a sale, I can enable my cost. And I think that's one of the questions we had earlier. By the way, I'm not really reading a lot of these questions because I'm like by myself. so I don't have the chance to go through all the questions here. So whoops, I changed the template there. So let me collapse this here. So was that the template I was working with? I'll edit it again. So so I'm going to enable, go to columns. I'm going to enable my cost, and I'm going to turn off units. Let me turn off all this noise. That way it's just kind of easier to see. So I'm going to get rid of some of these because they're kind of confusing. I'm going to get rid of class, and then I'm going to have cost and rate. So now I'm going to have to make sure that both cost and rate are in there, but I'm not going to show my client the cost, so I'll leave it out of that print section. So just for internal purposes. There it is. Okay. So I'm going to have my rate. This is how much I'm charging my customer. And then I have my cost, which is how much it costs. In this case, this is an inventory product. So this will be average costing. That is huge. I can't believe we didn't have that like 100 years ago or 10 years ago. So that's something that I really like about the new updates that did in QuickBooks 2015. You can also hide the opening balances from customers, so from your customers if you're consulting with them. That way they don't create new items with opening balances, or they don't create new customers with opening balances. We can disallow selling with overdue customers, so we can actually turn on a feature where if a customer is overdue, you're not allowed to even invoice. Okay, let's see what else. In QuickBooks 16, and some will release sort of mid-year, and this is why they're moving to subscription, because Intuit wants to really be able to uh, QuickBooks wants to be able to release in the middle of the year, so they don't want to wait a whole year to release new features. And if they're not getting a subscription model, they're not sort of encouraged to do so. Anyway, okay, so
Hey, Hector, I made it. Sorry to
hey.
interrupt you, but I just saw that you're talking about me.
Well,
You don't know.
I didn't talk about you, but it is kind of related. So who are you? Who's here?
Hey, this is Doug. Doug Sleeter. How are you doing, Hector? It's so good to see you.
Oh, hey, thank you. Hi, hey, Doug. So, Doug, I have to tell you something. I owe you. I never publicly told you this, but I owe you something big. Because of
Oh,
you, I get to go to Las Vegas with my two best friends, without my wife, without my kids, every year. Come back. My wife is okay with it, and it's all tax deductible.
oh, there you go.
And Doug, since I wanted you to come in and speak to us about mid market, because I know that you've been or you started practicing 20 something years ago. Let's not be specific, but and I know that in some part of your career you really focused on mid market. So let me ask you. Let's just have a conversation about it. What
Sure.
exactly is mid market? So we're talking about QuickBooks Enterprise. What is mid market? How are they different? Why is this something to even spend some 5 minutes speaking about?
Well, yeah, most of us started off our careers in the QuickBooks consulting world learning the product really well. And if you're like me, the product is there's you can have a PhD in QuickBooks. There's so much to the application. And the first clients you go out and get are probably the little guys on Main Street that most of us see every day. But as you get better and better and more able to, I guess, manipulate QuickBooks into customizing for whatever type of business, the larger firms really are the ones where there's obviously there aren't as many of them, but they sure have more budgets. They have larger needs. They have departmentalization within the mid-market clients. So you've got the AR department and the AP department, payroll department. So these companies are looking for a real expert to come in and help them design their whole corporate information system, as opposed to help the bookkeeper learn how to put in checks and bills and pay bills and so forth. So most of you all know that, but what I like about the mid-market is it's no longer a question of how many hours they can buy of your time. We get out of that kind of world and we get into you're really talking with the senior people about designing their business in a way that probably is broken when you get there. So they're really looking for super knowledge, super depth of what tools can be used to solve the problem. And Hector, you're really good at this. We have several people in the Sleeter Group network. If you're not familiar with the Sleeter Group, it's Sleeter.com. You can go and learn about our network. But there's hundreds of consultants all over the world, and they are the most expert on QuickBooks. And a lot of these guys are doing quite well focusing just on that mid-market. Mario Novogradsky is actually not too far away from where you live, Hector, and he's been doing this for years and focused on really mid-market companies. He's in POS. He's in inventory control, manufacturing, those kinds of things. So it's an interesting place to go. But let me just talk a little bit about should you go.
Real quick,
This is where I want
real quick, Doug,
Oh,
since
go ahead.
you mentioned the Sleeter network. If any of
Yeah.
you here in this webinar have never heard of this website here called the Sleeter Report, which is sleeter.com/blog, you've been living under a rock, and I apologize for I apologize for I'm not trying to insult, but I would say the single most important, uh, both technically savvy and very objective blog and source of information about everything in the accounting technology world. Most specific, QuickBooks, as you can see here, QuickBooks, that thing with the X word that I'm not sure how it's pronounced. Uh, and it's a great blog, great sources. It's 100% free. So sorry about
Yeah.
that. So make sure that you check out, Sleeter Report, which is sleeter.com/blog. Sorry about that, Doug. Keep going.
Yeah, well, thanks for that. I think what we try to do is help people with the information, just like you're doing here, Hector, and you just do a fantastic job of taking to the next level of understanding. So even those slides you just put up, so thanks for that. But I think where I'd like to go, if you're okay with this, Hector, is should everybody in this audience just say, let's go after mid-market?
No.
And my answer is no way. This is for those of you who have studied hard and have that PhD in QuickBooks, because you go into a mid-market company, now you're playing with the big boys, if you will. They expect you to completely know all of the possible ways of manipulating the software. So only a few of you will find that to be the best path to go, because there's a whole bunch of business back in the lower end businesses. Whole bunch of clients, and you can do outsourced accounting services. There's a whole interesting business for you not to go to the mid-market. So a few of you will go to the mid-market because you've been really schooled in point of sale or a particular vertical, a manufacturing area or whatever, that really need more oomph from the software, if you will. So, Hector, you were, a couple of days ago, we were talking about some of the issues that you felt were really important about that mid-market. What are some of those that you want to kind of discuss now?
Yeah, sure. I'll put the next slide over that I had to put there real quick while you were talking, so because I wasn't sure if you were going to make it or not. So we'll talk about that after we finish about the Sleeter conference.
Yeah.
So let me tell you my typical engagement with QuickBooks Enterprise, and I want to tell you that story because before we jump into the product, we have to think about how we feel as consultants when we walk into this client. I have a client that sells fish tank food. Okay. Actually, I'll pull it up in Amazon. I asked her for permission if I can use her for an example because I actually kind of love them. They're one of my favorite clients. They're the epitome of light American manufacturing. And I go into they make this thing here. Okay, this is a little bottle. But not big. This was a big one, but there's a bottle of fish food. And they have this manufacturing plant in a 3,000 square foot facility that looks like a miniature Lego version of like the humongous manufacturing plants. But it is so awesome to see like all these things moving around and all these gears and stuff, and how we take accounting processes like, okay, let's put the bill of materials together and let's look at all the inventory components that go into this thing. This thing has, believe it or not, this thing has like 9 inventory components. We have the bottle itself, the cap, we have the label, we have the mixture that goes in it, there's the bag, there's the box. And I help this client organize how they put together this manufacturing process inside of QuickBooks. Now, this is a small company per se. I don't know how much they sell, and even if I knew and I said it, I would break some confidentiality agreements. But let's say they sell $5 million worth. That this is light manufacturing, but this is the type of engagements that we go into. And when we go there, the client says, "Look, Hector, this is my situation. We have QuickBooks. It's a mess. I need you to help me, and I need you to give me a turnkey project that in a month I'm going to feel comfortable that everything is done correctly. Give me a price." Exactly what you're saying. It is completely different, right? It is completely
different.
And they really
want you to just take over and re-engineer their systems. Although the larger the mid-market you go, the more they're going to be a political organization. So it was great. That was a great, I think, a small client that has some needs of larger clients, and you're going to grow that client with them. So, boy, that's a great client for you to have, because you're not going to have to come in after they've already got all these bad habits that you got to break.
Right, and with them specifically, and again, I asked them permission to talk about them. With them, we have husband, wife, and son, and then we have the accounting department, we have the production department, and then we have the sales department. And each of them have a different vision on how the product should be built, how it should be marketed, and how accounting works. And one person understands the financial statements, the other one not so much. The other one understands them but just disagrees. So there's all this political drama inside the office, right, that I have to sit there and go through and try to monitor. And you know what? This is way outside my comfort zone. I love to just do accounting and that's it. But when you're there, you're in the lion's den, and your job is not to just do accounting. Your job is to facilitate a better business process.
That's right. And that's why I kind of go, some of us aren't going to go into the mid-market because we're either still learning and we're still kind of real comfortable with the smaller organization where one person is doing all the bookkeeping and, it's just a personal relationship. And that's where we're comfortable. But we want to crush the comfort zone and go on to the mid-market. That really requires actually internal development of your own practice and the way you behave and all. And I like this slide you have, because crush your comfort zone is what we're trying to talk about this year at SleeterCon. I'll just, like 2 seconds, I'll just tell you about what we do there in case you haven't been. It's a conference that we give. This is our 12th year. It's about accounting technology. It's across the board, very heavily weighted on the QuickBooks. There's a lot of QuickBooks desktop information and training, but also QBO and the online products and all of the add-on ecosystem that you have all been aware of. I talk about chunkification of the business process, and that's the idea that one product is probably never going to solve the whole problem for a client. But that product with add-ons that are vertically oriented or specific business process oriented, e-commerce, for example, is a chunk that connects into QuickBooks. We have a pre-conference session on that. You've got even Excel. Okay, we teach Excel, and there would be 2 sessions for that. There'll be a lot in sales tax and Nexus and things that are surrounding accounting, surrounding the core accounting products. And then there's also biz dev opportunities. And this is where we're really trying to kind of get you into your head. I want you to spend 3 days, 4 days with us in Vegas, and I want you to really go to work on yourself, to crush through your comfort about what it is you're doing and get to that next level that'll allow you to take on some of these more lucrative mid-market products, or simply start billing by value pricing as opposed to by the hour, because you don't know quite how to make that hump. They'll be set on that. So Hector's going to be there with Michelle. They're going to be doing a live QB Power Hour session. And this is a new thing for me. It's crushing our comfort zone, too. We're going to do live radio right at the conference.
I know.
If you let me, I'll drop in and say hi with you. But these are things that we want to do for you to help you.
All right, Doug. Thank you very much. I said, well, we'll plug in your conference because I love it, not just because it's an excuse to go to Vegas, but I learn a lot. And I've been very afraid of the other technologies are out there because I'm a QuickBooks zealot, and everybody knows that. But I think it's good to just be exposed to many things. So there's a discount code. I'm going to email that to everybody. And the reason why I bring Doug Sleeter on to talk to us about this is because the Sleeter organization is a true thought leader in the advanced QuickBooks technologies area, specifically the Sleeter Report blog. And this is one of the really nice articles by Tim Grant, is one of the writers in the Sleeter blog that talks a lot about inventory, which is a very common area that we consult with in QuickBooks Enterprise. And there's this graph. I love this graph. I think it's very relevant. And when I go sit down with my clients any client in which there's a workflow effect, typically with inventory purchasing, I actually take this specific graph and I walk through the process the client already has. So, how do you do purchasing? How do you take orders? How do you make what they call the POP decision, pick it, order, produce it, based on whether the item is in stock or not, and in which route we go based on the availability of the product, or based on our capacity to purchase inventory, or based on the approval process of the sales order, based on whether or not we receive the down payment from the client. All these conditions, I typically add on top of it. So I think this single graphic that you're seeing here, it's probably the most powerful tool you have in terms of having that printed out and then writing all sorts of notes around your consultation session. And you will see that it becomes really, really easy to design a custom workflow for the client using this graph, and then also using the QuickBooks workflow. So I really, really like the type of articles that we can see in the Sleeter blog, such as that one in particular. Just search for the inventory cycle in QuickBooks inside Sleeter report, and you'll go to this specific article that actually explains how to go about and consult on this process. So that's why I thank Sleeter and the Sleeter organization for all the tools they provide to us, the consultants. Doug, as long as I love talking to you, but I have to get back to QuickBooks Enterprise, and
All right.
and I like to thank everybody for giving attention to Doug's 10 minutes. Doug, thank you very much, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Okay, so transaction improvements, the subtotal and the quantity field, custom fields, I just show that. Enhanced shortage report, I just showed that. Find and select items, which was introduced back in 2012, was only available in invoices, and then they added it on estimates, and now it's everywhere. It's estimates, sales orders, purchase orders, it's everywhere. Really good. You can now sort columns in the payment screen. Advanced reporting has been heavily improved. I still have no clue how to use it. I try, like, one day that I'm feeling really smart, I try to play with it and I can't figure it out. So I'm not even gonna demo it until I feel comfortable with it. But they've done improvements to it. I think it's good to mention it. And auto copy ship to address. That means whenever I have a sales order with a drop shipment, I can create a PO and automatically put the customer's address, ship to address from the sales order into the PO. It's a great feature. And filter item field on reports. I did an example of that actually a couple of episodes ago, and then you can use continuous feed label printer. Okay, QuickBooks Enterprise and advanced pricing real quick. Advanced pricing, advanced inventory. You got barcode scanning, you have multiple location tracking. We're going to do an episode just on these. This is a long, involved topic. Serial numbers, lot numbers, FIFO, and advanced pricing replaces the price levels with customized pricing options that you can have. They can be seasonal, you can combine with other price changes, or you can make it based on a class, a general rule based on a class, a customer type, a vendor, tons of great things. This slide is really, really important. Okay, the link for everything enterprise training that I showed earlier is there. The link for that right hosting link that I showed earlier, that's there. And these two things, the white paper and the complete list of reports, are really useful things to have printed when you're demoing enterprise. Give it to your client, send it to them via email. Again, if you couldn't download the slides, you're going to get an email with all this stuff. And let's see. Oh, I now have this whole list of things that QuickBooks Enterprise doesn't have, but I'm going to skip it. Thank you for staying. We went way longer than normal. 90 minutes is not bad. So next week, managing accounts payable with QuickBooks. We're going to also work with Bill.com and HubDoc and see how they integrate together. It's actually pretty exciting. On the 12th, we're going to do multiple companies, intercompany transactions, and report consolidation. And I couldn't fit it there. We're going to have QVinci demo their product. Live from Las Vegas, please make it. It's going to be an experiment. I really don't know how we're going to be able to present to a crowd and do a webinar at the same time. December 10th, we don't know what the topic's going to be, so surprise. And our first annual Top 10 Apps of the Year award, Michelle and I are going to give on December 17th. We're still working through some of the people, the nominations and stuff like that. All right, so that's it. Thank you very much. It looks like about half of you stayed through the entire presentation. I'll see you next week for accounts payable management. Join Michelle's LinkedIn group. Join my our Facebook group, and email me any enterprise questions that you have, Hector at GarciaCPA.com. Have a great day.